Welcome to Let Freedom Ring. My guest this week, Gary Stillwell. Gary, welcome to the show.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Certainly appreciate that. Glad to be here.
Yeah, I'm glad that, we had to do a little rescheduling this week. A lot going on in Merrimack. So I'm glad you were able to make it. But let's get to know you a little bit.
Absolutely.
Where are you from and where'd you grow up?
Well, I'll tell you, I grew up in Roxbury, Massachusetts.
Okay.
I grew up in the mid 60s, early 70s. And during the time when I came up, a lot of folks look at me and say, "Wow, how did you grow up in the 60s?" Because I look so young.
Yeah.
But that's just and a tribute to me taking good care of myself health-wise. But I grew up in Roxbury when there was a lot of
Unrest.
But there was, at the same time, there was a lot of cohesiveness.
Yeah.
There was a lot of pre-owned, like ownership, things like that. There was play, there was fun. It was a different culture from what the culture is today.
Okay.
And but at the same time, a lot of the things were still there. It still existed. For example, gentrification, and I've seen where communities have a substantial amount of viability when it comes to buying power. In terms of the dollar will leave the black communities. Sometimes it will stay there one day. Yeah. And as far as like the Chinese, the dollar will circulate 30 days or so before it leaves that community, and so on. So we got to get back to that sustainability. And but there was a lot of unrest. There was different tensions and things like that. I grew up in the time where I've seen segregations. Yeah. Back in the time when who was it? Day O'Connor was the news lady that was busing segregated things like that. Yeah. People were being bused to Charlestown and back and forth, South Boston, during the time when times was really unrest and everything like that.
And there was in the Boston busings. I mean, that we could spend a lot of time on that. That's just, and we're going to talk a lot of stuff that's still going on to this day as we go on. But what's one thing everybody should know about you?
That's a great question, Dan. One thing I pride myself on is, first of all, I'm a visionary.
Okay.
I'm a dad, brother, uncle, friend. So I'm a lot of things. And so I also have a divine heritage, which some of the family lineage is tied into the Egyptian culture. We've gotten away from that a little bit, but so other than that, great person, and if I'm with you, I'm there to see it through, and I'm there to see you grow. When you grow, I grow, and so we can work together in a cohesive unit.
All right, good answer. Now, this next question, because it comes up a lot, because being an American means a lot of different things to a lot of different people. We've had a lot of guests discuss that, because everybody is living a different life in America. What does being an American mean to you?
Well, that's a great question. I'm glad you asked. Depends on the level of consciousness. For example, a lot of folks don't understand that America is simply a name, and America was actually founded by Amerigo Vespucci. And they named America after that. And so, being America, depending on the level of consciousness that you know about, America, not just the word America, but what it is and what it stipulates from, and the culture. I mean, something that was put together to be a culture. But it has little value, to be honest with you, right now. And a lot of folks nowadays, I find, are more eager to tie into their actually divinity. Okay, for example, like you have, whether you're from Palestine, the Jewish or whatever it is, Ethiopian descent. So a lot of folks are tying into that as well, because the more you know, the more you ask yourself, I mean, is this really America? But being America, if other folks look at it from a different standpoint that are not in this country, they look at it as a land of opportunity.
Yep. Yeah, no. Good answer. It means a lot of different stuff, different people, and a lot of, because a lot of people ask, so why'd you name your show Let Freedom Ring? And it kind of comes down to, I wanted the show to focus on Americans, but all Americans. So
sounds like the inclusion.
Yes, yeah, and that, and I think it's just a good question, because I think everybody has a different perspective on it.
Right.
Everybody. So that's going to bring us into current events and a lot of stuff going on right now. First question though, because it's everything affecting our lives right now.
Sure.
How has the pandemic changed your life?
Well, I like that question, and when I say this, I say it with conviction.
Yep.
And I don't advocate for everybody, but I can advocate for myself. It's changed my life in a sense where I become awakened. And for example, I become awakened to the things that had already laid dormant, which was systematic racism, which was the culture of racism, which was the things that was already there, and the inefficiencies and the things that really had dire concern, which were manipulative and being swept under the rug. And at the same time, it was business as usual if you didn't understand the concept.
Yeah.
Okay, so it's woken a lot of people up in terms of even the pandemic. I think was God sent in a way, because we've seen so much of our government and of the world and all the disparities that different ethnicities and different groups of folks, whether you're Italian or Caucasian, no matter what you're, Latino, we've seen how like the viruses disproportionately affect those and eradicate those people, and a lot of that's tied into a system with poor health care.
Yeah.
So a lot of folks are doomed to fail, but they don't really see that because the vision is distorted. So I said that because housing, the way you're living, the way you eat, the things you consume, a lot of that comes into like obesity, healthcare, economic standpoint, things like that. So all those diverse situations, and you see what we face, and we also had a chance to see the world itself and all the things that are unequal. Yeah.
Well, it's given people definitely time to think about that, and I mean that's something I think that I think we've all been kind of aware of. But you're right, it has come out more recently. But I think that the country's been heading that way too. It's just it's been a crazy time. Absolutely crazy time.
I agree with you, and like I said before, we're in an unprecedented time.
Yep.
So things can happen that doesn't normally happen because there's no script, and things are not preordained. So sometimes you see things happening. That's why that's historic.
Yep.
So that's why history is being recorded.
Yeah. No, I agree with that. And well, that's going to take us into some more, and some of the current events this week are just they're not happy stuff. A couple in Marshall, Minnesota, went into a Walmart with swastika masks. And we're all want to be wearing our masks and things like that. People were not happy about that. Their response was, if you vote for Biden, you're voting for Nazi Germany and socialism, and that's never going to happen here in America. Not sure what they were going with that, because everybody knows what the Nazi symbol
Well, I will
is,
say, let me unpack. Well, you mentioned some very important things, but let me unpack the first part of what you said. I believe you made reference to Biden.
Yep.
Well, I believe you made reference to the mask first, swastikas.
Yeah.
For me, I'm a different breed. I don't care if you put underwear on your head, as long as you're following the guidelines of the CDC.
Sure.
And I don't care what your mask looks like or who you represent.
Okay.
You can put you can put anything on there that you like, and that will be totally fine as long as you're following the guidelines, which will keep us safe. And as far as I just want to unpack that so we can separate that.
Sure.
It's isolated. And as far as Joe Biden goes and what people say, I really can't speak to what's in their mind.
Yeah.
If I can do that, I would.
It sounds absolutely insane.
But I would say this. I will say this, judging from what I know of Biden.
Yeah.
First, we've never met personally, but I know that one thing I can confirm is he's been under the expert tutelage of Barack Obama.
Yep.
And that's a great accolade to have.
Yep.
And so you might hear a lot of things that's going on. A lot of things are suspect. A lot of things talk about different things in the court. Biden did this.
Yep.
Well, first of all, I haven't seen the transcripts. I haven't seen any of that. So it would be unfair for me to speak on any ongoing investigations that he's in. So only thing I can do is stay grounded to where we're at right now in these times.
Yep.
And we need a commander in chief, regardless if you like Biden. He's not going anywhere.
Yeah.
He's the nominee. So that's what we got to wrap our heads around. And then from there, we can work out after the president is sworn in. If you don't like how things go down the road, you can switch parties and build your own party and build your own political aspects, and you turn in your political feelings, and you get behind whatever it is that you want to do.
Sure. I mean, I agree with most. I think these people are a little bit crazy. The Nazi symbol in Germany is banned. If you really are going to walk around with something like that, I'm going to say something, and people did. They sound a little bit, crazy. Mm-hmm. But very interesting that anybody would be willing to walk into a Walmart doing that in 2020.
But let me just interject something real quick.
Sure.
The times that we live in now,
yep,
you have to be very careful about how you address people. There's a certain level of tension that's going on.
Yeah.
And so you have to become a doctor. You have to diagnose the individual.
Yep.
And before you engage, some people need to be left alone.
Yeah.
Some people need different remedies.
Now, if you were in the Walmart at the time and you saw that, what would be your reaction to it?
Well, first of all, my reaction is simple. I pride myself on a guy who minds his own business.
Okay.
And so
there's nothing wrong with that.
Yeah, and that's my function.
Yep.
I'm a real rational type of guy. Whatever it is that you're going through, you can keep that.
Okay.
You can keep that. I'm not here to, discredit you because of your mask. There might be an underlying reason, because a lot of things, like I said before, Dan, comes back to teachable moments.
Sure.
Where some of us are not educated. Mm-hmm. We think that we are, but sometimes we're miseducated.
Okay.
So when that happens, some people are so quick to attack somebody. Well, maybe you could teach them. And if you can't teach that individual, maybe you can just let him be. But other than that, you can't try to live his life for him because he feels that way.
And I don't disagree with that. And you are allowed to do that in the United States. And but I do think that symbol does draw, a certain reaction, obviously, of anti-Semitism and things like that as well. Yeah. But not something I've ever seen in a store. Mm-hmm. Not saying it's probably people haven't worn that thing, stuff like that in the stores before. But obviously, with the invention of the iPhone, sure, things are being recorded more. So
absolutely,
that's going to bring us. Garrett Foster, 28 years old, was shot and killed by a motorist at a Black Lives Matter protest in Austin, Texas. He was an Air Force veteran, and he was pushing it. Him and his fiance had been together for a while. She was in a wheelchair, paraplegic, and now the motorist claims that he was shot at, but no one can confirm his story. Mm-hmm. Do you think the level of violence is going to continue with not? And it doesn't always. It's not. It's violence against peaceful protesters. Mm-hmm. What were your thoughts on that story?
Yeah, that's a great subject. Well, first of all, I want to give prayers for his family.
Yep.
And the people who had to witness something like that. Mm-hmm. And I hope that his family is okay. Obviously, I don't condone violence, and I don't believe in a person taking another person's life.
Agreed.
Is acceptable. Unless you're put in harm's way, different situations apply. But in a situation like that, it's wrong. Wrong doesn't really has to be expounded on in terms of like if you take someone's life. And I wasn't there. But I will say this. One of the things I've been paying close attention to while we've been in this quarantine for going on 6 months now is there's been 5 different militias that has reappeared. And a lot of these militias came into play because of disparity and people bullying people and racial undertones and police involvement of killing folks and killing families and things like that. So a lot of these things, I'm not really going to say that the government created or systematically created, but they created because this has basically been a boiling point. So you see, like there's 5 different militias. There's one of them is that's kind of new is Huey P. Newton Gun Club.
Okay.
Out there. They got that.
Where was that around?
The Huey P. Newton Gun Club, I think that's out in the South.
Okay.
And then they got the Panthers, the new Black Panther Party that they just sort of like gave birth to again. And they also just came out with the NFAC.
Mm-hmm, which is
Not Fucking Around Coalition.
Okay.
That's what they call themselves.
We'll edit that later.
I'm sorry. I should.
Justin said it's okay. Producer said it's okay. Yeah, go ahead.
And but Dan.
Yeah.
The moral of the story is I don't believe nobody should harm anybody.
Yeah.
But a lot of protesters are exercising their Second Amendment.
Yep.
And the Second Amendment does apply to everybody, but what happens is some of the folks have been getting left out due to the theory of something's going to happen to them, or the old stigmas, scare tactics. So I believe like the level of consciousness is raised, and people are like, no, wait a minute, we're not going to stand for this.
Yep.
We are not going to stand for this. And so just to go back on the subject though, nobody should shoot anybody.
No, I agree.
They really shouldn't.
So. It's crazy, and part of it is, do you notice that there's a lot of people that like to focus on, because I think most of the protests during this whole movement have been peaceful, but there's a part of the population that wants to bring up every time the parts that weren't, and they want to project on that. But this one's just sad, This guy and his fiance, and they just bought a house, and they were going to these protests, and they weren't causing problems.
Sure.
They weren't. And most of the people aren't. So, very, very unfair. But I think you're right. Everybody does, and I know you feel this very strongly about the Second Amendment.
Yeah.
And I think you are right. Everybody has the right to defend themselves. And Dan,
let me be honest. Like I said before. You asked an earlier question about how the pandemic affected me.
Yeah.
And one of I had a chance to look at things more closely.
Sure. And
so some of the visions that I have now, had you asked me 6 months prior to that, I would have had a different answer. So I feel like just about several hundred or 1,000 or a million other folks that may feel the same way, not because they want to be combative or anything like that.
Yeah.
But they want to live.
Yeah.
Their families take precedent over somebody assassinating them and having no ramifications for that. So, people say, like for example, people go all overseas and they fight for the U.S. government for the wars. And I read a book on how if all the people who fought overseas protecting the government's property, all these properties here and things like that, if all those people came home and said, wait a minute, our war is not overseas fighting for you, but our war is right here in America. So we need to fix some things right here at home, and then before we go off overseas to get killed and fight in somebody's war.
Well, I think there's a big point to that, because you had a lot of black veterans come back from World War II not treated the same at all. You had a lot come back from Vietnam, goes back to Muhammad Ali. He didn't want to go to Vietnam, and he was justified in saying that. He goes,
Absolutely.
"Why am I going to fight for a government that doesn't fight for me?"
Yeah.
So that's a good point. Well, we're gonna move into pop culture.
Absolutely.
Regis Philbin just passed away.
Rest his soul.
Everybody, how him and Kelly Ripa, and before that it was.
They had.
Oh God, she married the quarterback.
What's his name?
I can't even think of it. Kathy Lee.
Yep.
Gifford.
Regis and Kathy Lee. There was Kelly Ripa.
Yep.
And then there was.
Who Wants to Be a Millionaire?
Yeah, there was that, and there was the other guy who was on the show. He did the football. I can't call his name right now. And rest his soul. Sometimes what happens, Dan, is, when we grow up with these people on television, we think we know them.
Yeah, that's a very good point. Yeah.
And we feel like sometimes they're our friends, and or I know him. Even though you might not but you do because
Yep.
you've been watching him on TV for a long time. So rest his soul, and I was heartbroken to hear that.
WWE did a big little tribute for him last night because if you know wrestling,
Sure,
he's always been around, and he always had wrestlers on his show. So they did a tribute for him. Rest in peace, Regis Philbin, icon,
Absolutely.
definitely for sure. Kanye West, now he's talked about running for president. Kanye West, he's one of my favorite artists probably ever. College Dropout's one of my favorite albums. To this day. But he's got a little bit different over the years. He apologized to his wife on Twitter for his recent behavior. What do you think is going on with Kanye West? Is he okay?
Well, let me say this. I'm certainly not a doctor, but I will say this from my perspective, because I believe that mental health should be a high priority.
Yep, I agree.
One thing I don't like, whether it's Kanye or somebody else that we don't know, I don't like to see people taken advantage of or exposed in a mental health issue, and that's what he's going through. Certainly, I'm not a doctor, and I don't play one on TV, but it saddens me to see that, because before I go into what Kanye, his accolades and what the things that he's done, I have to address him as who he is right now and what I see on TV. And fortunately, I don't like that, because it saddens me, because it's a sickness.
Yeah.
And nobody's addressing that. So what happened to being our brother's keeper and seeing something, calling it out, getting that person help?
Yeah.
Because a lot of times, Dan, people don't understand that those individuals are crying out for help.
Yeah.
It might be in a different way, but they're crying out for help. And I would much rather spend time on. I understand that him and his wife is going through some issues.
Yep.
But maybe they'll work that out. I don't know much about what goes on behind closed doors, but maybe they'll work that out.
Yeah.
But I just want him, for a priority for me, is not records. It's not record sales. It's not a presidency. Because just to take it a step further, the presidency is a big job.
Yep.
So I think we kind of downsized the presidency right now. But it's not something that I would just. One thing about me, I'm old-fashioned. I don't just give you anything. You basically have to earn it. It doesn't matter if you put out good quality music, whatever it is. You're a good actor. A platform for me means everything, and we can establish dialogue on what your plans are. I want to see him get help.
Yeah.
And if he could save his marriage, I don't want to advise him on that. I don't know how deep the hurt is. But anytime that kids are involved, it bothers me.
Yeah.
Because I have kids of my own. So anytime kids are involved, I don't think they should have to suffer like that.
No, and hopefully they don't. And I mean, he's been like this for a little while now.
Yes,
so
yes.
it's been sad, and I don't know. I mean, like I said, this guy's an unbelievable talent.
Yeah.
Do you think a year ago President Trump kind of took advantage of his erratic behavior?
No, I don't.
Okay.
And here's why. Because what you have to understand is Trump and Kanye are kind of on the same level.
Sure.
And what I mean, not in a good way.
Yeah.
But in a way where they're maybe they're narcissists.
Yeah.
Or they have a vested interest in things. They're both crazy. I mean, shouldn't use that word like that, but I take that back.
It's all good.
But they're not cut far from each other.
Sure.
And so sometimes when two people come together like that, it's not because they're being taken advantage of, because they like something about each other. The energy, which is projected out, is Trump receives his energy and Kanye receives Trump's energy. Whether it's negative, I think they're a lot alike. But I think that
it was a strange whole. Yeah, it's weird to see that in the White House. What went on that day?
Dan, I have a higher level, a higher standard.
Yeah.
When it comes to people I vote for.
Sure.
And certain things, we really can't play with. We can't placate or anything like that. So I would like to see them have a friendship, but take it off the stage. And right now, let's take care of the business of the United States of America.
All right. All right, well, we're going to just two more questions, pop culture, then we'll move on. What are your top 5 favorite albums?
That's a great. I like Steelers Wheel.
All right.
Stuck in the middle again. I like Cat Stevens. I like Cats in the Cradle. I like Michael Jackson.
Love Michael Jackson.
I like a little bit of Luther Vandross.
Yep.
And I like a lot of the old school Donna Summers and things like that. So I can go on and on. But
what's your favorite Michael Jackson album?
Probably Off the Wall or something like that.
All right.
And I'll probably quote myself when I go home and think of something else.
I mean, he really didn't have. I can't really think of anything.
Everything he really touched was a classic.
Yeah.
So looking back, I can quarterback it and say, well, wait a minute.
Do you have a top 5 favorite movies?
I don't watch a lot of TV right now. I read a lot, but during the time I did, I like Lawrence Fishburne. I think he's a great talent. What's
your favorite one that he's done?
I like the one he did. I think it was Boys in the Hood.
Oh, my goodness.
I like that. And
he played the great father in that.
Yeah, he did. That was very touching. And also, I like, I love Denzel Washington. I think Training Day was a success right out the gate.
He was finally the bad guy.
Yeah. And also, I like, there's a lot of, I like the, Fishburne. Okay, who else is it? There was somebody I was thinking about who was great. They just put out a movie. I like Ice Cube getting into production right now. Not so much a lot of the things he put out, but just being in charge, having a production. And
he's got a basketball league now too.
Yeah, he does. Yeah, he does. Yeah, it's actually it entails like a lot of the guys who don't play no more, but still have talent in sport and a lot of ability. And I think for the new generation of folks, I think Curtis Jackson is doing a phenomenal job on an entrepreneur level.
Okay.
Putting out movies, Power, things like that. But most of the things I like are from another generation. But I try to draw off a little bit.
Yeah, no, totally understandable. I'm a big Lawrence Fishburne fan and Denzel Washington.
Oh, absolutely. I'm sorry, I forgot to mention Morgan Freeman.
Oh yeah,
Shawshank Redemption.
That's one of my favorites.
I can watch that 7 times, Monday, Tuesday.
What a movie. Unbelievable. And I don't think it won the Academy Award, but it should have.
Wow. I wish it did.
And if I need to be fact checked on that, fact check me. I think that was 94. But let's go into sports. 13 Miami Marlins, and I think the number's gotten worse, have tested positive for coronavirus. What do you think of the MLB trying to go from city to city? I don't know if this is going to work.
I think, a lot of people ask that question. And first, you have to ask yourself, I put safety first. Yep. I love sports. And, sometimes I watch the scrimmages, even though they're old, I'll go back and watch it. But first of all, I got to be very serious when it comes to this. Safety should be first. Okay. And because the numbers are rising. And in a lot of the states and different places that they're gathering and they're rising in an astronomical number. And a lot of people might not like it, but I think that it's not safe right now. And I just got word that football is going to be put on hold.
Oh, is that what they...
Yeah, was it football? Something like that is going to be put on hold.
Because I didn't hear that before. I know a lot of Patriots are not playing.
Yeah, it may have changed.
And it's big name Patriot players like Dante Hightower are not going to play.
Yeah. They may have made some changes, but somebody.
Yeah, it's I'd love to have sports too. Right now, I don't know what's going to happen. But I do feel like right now we're only a couple days into the baseball season, starting in July. Yeah, it's only been the Miami Marlins that have had an issue. So I don't know if 1, 2, 3 players decided to do whatever they wanted, and it's costing them. We're really gonna have to see how this plays out because
we'll have to keep an eye on that.
There's no crowds there. I love baseball's my game.
I love to see it. I love to see it. Dan, right now, things change moment by moment.
It's true.
I can exit the studio and go out and and look at something and be like, this happened.
Yeah.
So we just have to be. I would much rather be careful.
Yes.
A lot of people don't take.
What do you think the NBA is doing it right then with the bubble?
Well, I do. I don't want to be negative, but because
Yeah.
I just said one thing about the baseball.
Yeah.
But I want to see so bad them finish out the season
Because they started.
yeah, I want to,
Yeah.
and but still, I don't want to apply double standards. But I think if they can do it, and those guys, you got to keep in mind as well, Dan. Those guys get like 2 or 3 tests a day.
Yep.
So those guys supposedly are not going outside the bubble, and so if they can maintain that structure and that integrity, then maybe
It's too different. It's definitely very different because the NBA is staying in the bubble. The NHL is going to stay in the bubble. The MLB decided they didn't want to do that. And I don't think you could put football in a bubble.
Yeah, that would be tough to do that.
I don't know what's going to happen, but another thing that's happened this week, the Boston Red Sox put up a Black Lives Matter billboard on the Massachusetts Turnpike. Now, I'm in very big support of that. I'm sure are you support that the Red Sox are jumping on that, or
Absolutely not.
Okay. Because there were I've read a lot of comments on Facebook that I went, I don't know.
Well, let me get right to the point because I believe the situation is a dire situation,
Sure.
and I don't believe in a Band-Aid approach.
Okay.
I don't believe in a $3 bucket of paint is going to be reciprocal of the lives. But what I do believe in is legislation, and what I do believe in is laws being enforced, and what I do believe in is accountability, and I believe in prosecution to the fullest extent of the law.
Yeah.
And I do believe in implementing that as a legislation. And one of the things you can do by putting, and I know Jewish folks, when they went through the Holocaust, they wasn't looking for anyone to put Jewish Lives Matter on the sidewalk. They were looking for real solutions so that they can. They were looking for solutions. So
do you think this is more harmful than helpful?
I do. And
Okay.
Here's why. Because you can't placate. You can't play with people's lives. You have people who are dying. This is serious. This is not something where you get a bucket of paint like the bus stop.
Sure.
And you paint buses only on this side, and the buses roll up and down that street, and you see that. No, this is people's lives. And one of the things we do, we pass the torch, and we got to stop that. The buck stops right here. And if you really want to do that, if you really want to invest into the Black Lives, if you really want to invest in, sorry about that. If you really want to invest into that, then you look at things like defunding the police. A lot of people say that when you say defunding the police. What does he mean? A lot of people don't understand that. That doesn't mean you're shutting the police down. That simply means that the police budget has an astronomical amount of money that goes in. It might be $309 million. Don't quote me. It depends on. And that's a fund. That's a war chest. So what happens with that, Dan, is they pay off their wives, their mistresses, or whoever it is, and in that war chest, they can fight lawsuits. They have what you call a consent decree, and a consent decree is where you can consent that you did no harm, and the police will pay out a settlement to you. It's called a consent decree.
Yeah.
Right? And what happens is they pay you millions of dollars, but they never admit guilt. So that means they get paid to kill you, and they can give you a settlement, and life goes on.
Well, that's not.
Consent decree. Look that up. And also, if you really want to help Black Lives Matter, we got to look at the unions. The unions are very powerful and very vibrant because of the funding, of the money, and of all those billions and billions of dollars. Now, what I want you to wrap your mind around is this. Picture the police department getting paid regular salary, whatever it is. I don't know what it is. Maybe $60.
Depending on where you are on the pay scale.
Depending on what it is.
Yeah.
But okay, now picturing the $309 million or plus revenue over in the war chest, because the police are funded.
Yeah.
They're funded. Okay, that's separate. So that fund simply means that money is to be allocated to details. When you see a police sitting on the side of the road making $350 an hour, just to be visible. So on a construction site. So that's all systemic, where certain people get those details. and I grew up. I got families who was in the police and stuff like that. So and so I know how it works. I'm abreast with a lot of things that they tell me. So if you really want to help in terms of Black Lives Matter, you want to follow the laws, obey the laws.
But should getting the message out do you find getting the message out? Because we're talking about, you also mentioned defund the police.
Mm-hmm.
Do you think, now obviously some people take that as a literal sense?
Let me clarify that.
Yeah, which I understand. Because when you get to Black Lives Matter, you talk about defund the police. They're slogans, but there's a lot behind the slogans. Would be fair? Was that a fair assessment?
Well, let me say this.
Yeah,
Black Lives Matter is only a slogan.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's all it is. And if you research that, it was established by some of the LGBT community. So it's a slogan. That's what it is. And so they established that, which is fine. I mean, anything that's going to aid and abet in fighting and moving forward is good, but it has to be more aggressive than that. That's a great start.
Sure.
So, but we have to partner with coalitions.
So, but is what the Red Sox did, is it harmful? You do believe it's harmful, or is it?
My way of thinking is this.
Yeah.
I personally don't like to see it.
Okay.
And here's why.
Sure.
And here's why. It means nothing to me. I mean, here's why. Let me ask you a question. What does it do?
I think it pushes the movement. In my personal opinion, it makes more people aware, but it also turns these other people I don't know how to put it this way, but it makes them angry, and I don't.
My thing is like this. We having a moment to waste.
Sure.
And I'd much rather attack the situation so that we don't have to revisit this again, and we can eradicate that, and so that we don't have to deal with that. So my goal and my aim is not to offend anybody, but I can only tell you what I feel, and what I feel is painting on the sidewalk is obsolete to me.
Okay,
it has no value.
I think that's a good take, because a lot of people don't have that take, you know. But if you want to help,
if you want to help, if somebody wants to help, I'm all about real change.
Yeah,
I'm all about real change, not not watered down change, Band-Aid effect, trickle down things like that. Because this is not new. This is a book. Racism is a culture. Okay, it's a brainwashed culture. It's not new. So let me just say this, Dan. A lot of people you can fool, not you, but you can fool a lot of people. But then you get around people like myself, who you can't fool, because this is the no spin zone. And what I mean by that is I've sat down with scholars, and I've broken down the laws and everything like that. So certain people you can't pacify. In other words, if you're talking about change and you have a bucket of paint, then you lost me already. Certain people might think that, but like I said when we started the show, I can't speak for them. I don't advocate for them. I only advocate for me and my personal beliefs and what I feel. And I feel like it's a waste of time painting Black Lives Matter on anything when you could take that money and you can get behind a real change, like the NBA, the Red Sox. Take some of that money and get behind the communities, because the communities need invest in the education, and invest in the housing, invest in that, and invest in living
in the community.
Invest in the economic standpoint, invest in ownership, invest in that, where everybody can really have a stake and a piece of the American pie.
No, I like that take, and you know what? And that's a good one to have, because a lot of people. You're right. If you're just going to write it on there, and I don't know if the Red Sox have done anything more than that. I'm just saying they put it up there. Could they? Obviously, could do more.
I mean, everybody they put it up in the bubble as well for the NBA.
But,
I mean, I don't know. I'm certainly not looking at that. I'm looking at the ball going in the hoop.
Yeah. Well, we all, at the end of the day, we all can do better. And,
absolutely.
No, I think that's a good take. Don't want to spend too much on this, because we happy the Patriots signed Cam Newton?
Yeah. You know what, Dan? I'm going to say this. It's different, and I think Belichick is an architect when it comes to things like that. So I think he's seen something.
Yeah.
And sometimes, if you notice, Belichick will assemble people together, and it's a win-win. He did the same with Randy Moss, and when he started to bring those guys in, and I think if the season and everything plays out, if we get a chance to see football, I think it's going to be a lot of spark. And I think the offense, as we know, Cam Newton has a spectacular running game.
Yep.
So he's been working out with the guys. I've seen it. He's been working out with a few of the guys, and it's good. It's going good. So expect a lot of changes, and I'm happy. I'm happy about it. I really am.
Do you have a favorite sports moment?
Well, I'll tell you what. First of all, I'm a Celtics fan. I'm a LeBron James fan,
Yeah.
and a Patriots fan. So I'll be quick about it. I love when LeBron James, how he won all 3 of the championships, and how he did it, how he went back to Cleveland, and so I love those, and I love when he knocked off the Golden State Warriors. A lot of people, sometimes my wife don't understand because I love Boston, and she says you're always rooting for LeBron.
I'm in the same boat because I love LeBron. Yeah.
So I would say, LeBron James, he's phenomenal. I can quote the years, and Celtics is great right now. They're not ready. They need some work, but they'll be okay. And Patriots, I'm waiting for the Patriots. I was a Brady fan, still love Brady, but we're gonna move on and just see what Cam can bring. And I'm excited. The reason I'm excited, Dan, is because I like change.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's gonna be fun. Once that gets going, that's gonna take us into politics.
Mm-hmm.
We got about 15 minutes left into the show.
Great. Yeah.
Nancy Pelosi started kind of calling the coronavirus the Trump virus. Is that just her taking shots at him? Obviously, there's more a lot of people feel like he could have done, and then there's others that say he did all he could, and at the end of the day, he says he takes no responsibility. So
I'm glad you asked that question, Dan. It is the Trump virus, and he owns it. His lack of ineptness, his lack of education, his lack of astuteness, his lack of the ability to be proactive, his lack of having the experience of being, first of all, he's an illegitimate president of the United States. So his lack of all that, this goes back to leadership when we talked about Kanye and all that stuff like that. You just can't put people who are not ready on day one to be president because you will be exposed. Because look what's happening in the streets now. You got uprising, you got protests, you got the pandemic. And I think it's very serious, Dan, when we lose 150 million people. 150,000 people. That's very serious. And
do we feel more divided than ever in your lifetime, or do you feel you got a little bit older than me? Mm-hmm. But do you feel? Well,
I believe right now people are more divided, but they're more conscious.
Sure. Yeah.
But one thing I want to say, I want to make this the focal point too, because that's a good question. I want you to keep in mind that these things are not new, Dan.
Yeah.
These things are all recycled. These
Agreed.
things are all, it goes around.
Yeah.
You might not seen it, but somebody else seen it, like within
Yep.
the 60s, 70s, and stuff like that. So these things are not new. So, and a lot of people say, oh, the world's not gonna be here. The world's gonna be fine.
Yeah.
This stuff has happened before. It's all happened before. But it's just that we're looking at it with a fresh set of eyes, a fresh visual. So, we're divided, but I think we're coming back together. And I think once you get the laws working for everyone, then that will reflect the unity.
Now, Trump decided that he was not going to pay respects to Representative John Lewis, who recently passed. Mm-hmm. And he takes on that. I know he didn't like John. John Lewis did a lot for this country, a lot for the civil rights movement. Mm-hmm. I didn't think Trump would pay him his respects because he didn't like him. So. Well,
first of all, Dan, I want to say God rest his soul and his family. Second of all, I already went on record and said that Trump was illegitimate to me. So, therefore, what Trump does, only thing I want, let's be clear, the only thing I would like for him to do is finish out his tenure, pack it up, and head on down the road.
I'm with you.
We're not looking for his approval on anything. So, means nothing. No.
Yeah, I think you bring up a good point because you're saying he's illegitimate. So why, should it bother us, the president acting like that?
No. I don't even think. I can't speak for the man because he's deceased, but I don't even think he probably would have wanted him there because I know they had some indifferences all the while. But
I mean,
either way,
he didn't go to McCain's either.
Yeah,
I don't think he didn't want him there.
Yeah, John McCain was a super guy too. Yeah, definitely a war hero, and God rest his soul as well.
To this day, when Trump called him, he's not a hero. He got captured. I said, well, you didn't go to war.
That saddened me because John McCain had what you call integrity.
Yeah.
I could recall the time when back when him and Obama was running, and they had a little town hall, and they had.
I think that was in Rochester too.
The lady grabbed the mic.
Yeah.
And she said that he's an Arab or something like that. And then I remember John McCain said, "Wait a minute." He said, "No. I'm not going to entertain that." He said, "No. That's not why I'm here." He said, "No, we might have some differences." I don't know how verbatim how he was.
I'm sorry. It wasn't Rochester, New Hampshire. Was when someone said something blatantly racist against Muslims and saying Obama was one, and Trump did not correct them at all.
Right.
He said, "Well, we're looking into it." Which what someone said to McCain is, "Yeah, I think you're right." They said he was an Arab, which is again nothing wrong with being Arab.
Not at all.
But the tone they were using was pretty derogatory.
The way she said it, was hurtful.
And McCain was on the spot, so it's not like he's trying to correct two things at once. Well, even if he was Arab, what does it matter? But what he just said, he goes, "No." He said, "Whatever you think of him," he goes, "he's a family man, just like me. We have a differance on how things should be, how the country should be run." So yeah, you're right. He was a man with integrity. I mean, I was fully behind Obama, but I didn't have any hatred towards John McCain or anything like that.
I didn't either. I can remember when my son Gabriel, he was little, and he catch me when he's young, he see me watching a lot of different things, and I remember him calling John McCain. He didn't know John McCain was just a baby. Yeah, I mean, he's like Gene Shaheen, John McCain. He just was hearing the names because a lot of times I'll be in different arenas, and but like I said, God rest him. He's a good patriot.
Yeah, absolutely disgusting the way that President Trump has talked about a lot of people.
Yeah.
Quickly, we'll do two more, and then we're going to go to my favorite segment, blank versus blank. Who should Biden pick to run with him?
First of all, I'll say this, and I'll go on record to say that whoever Joe Biden decides to pick, Joe Biden is fully capable of making a quality selection on who he wants to run with him. If I was him, no, not if I was him, but I like Stacey Abrams.
Okay.
I like, but there's more, not just her, but he put it like this: he has a unique selection, and if I was him, I would bring in somebody of an indigenous background where, who can identify with a lot of the things that's going on, and also, just to throw this in for the sake of time, the African American vote is really large, and so a lot of times those things are taken for granted. And one way, even though Joe Biden's capable of making clear decisions, it will help to kind of like pull things together in terms of race relations and things like that, because a lot of times people feel like their vote is taken for granted. So it would be a good moment for the world.
Yeah.
To start rebuilding.
No, I agree. I hope he does. I would like to know what that pick is.
Yeah.
Sooner rather than later.
I think he's coming soon with it. I believe. I asked my wife. I think she said August.
Okay.
Yeah, August he'll be letting us know.
Who ultimately wins in November?
Well, I'm going to say this. I'm going to give it to the Biden camp.
Okay.
I'm going to give it to the Biden camp only because we're in serious times right now, and we need somebody who can govern the country. And it's a known fact that the scare tactics that they're issuing in the suburbs, those worked in the 60s, but they don't work today. So all the stuff that they're running, time's up. So I'm going to give it to Joe Biden.
And I hope you're right on that. I really do. All right, now we'll go into blank versus blank, my favorite segment. It's going to be one or the other. You got to pick one and tell why. Pro wrestling or sports?
Wow. Okay. I'll go with sports. I'll go with sports.
Did Gabriel pull you back into wrestling, or were you always kind of into it?
No, actually, he pulled me into it.
Okay.
I was into it, from a different generation.
Yep.
Like the Cheap J Strongbos, the Bruno Sammartinos, those guys who were mostly dead. I was from their backgrounds, and that's what I like. And so wrestling had changed from what I was used to. So he pulled me back into it because he's from the new school,
Yeah.
and I was from the old school, but we was kind of like paramount,
Yep.
and we met in the middle. And so, I mean, I'll take sports over wrestling because I don't really immerse myself into it.
All right, now another wrestling one. We have some local ones too, but this one, Hulk Hogan or Steve Austin, Stone Cold.
I'll take Hulk Hogan.
And I think a lot of people would.
Yeah,
you know, I grew up with.
I like
it's
the
tough. I grew up with them both, but I was.
And the Hulk is a friend of ours. He's a friend of Steve Cardillo.
Okay.
And those guys travel a lot, and so the Hulk is a friend of ours as well. So I like the Hulk, not just because of them, but just because Hulk was part of my generation as well.
All right, good answer. Better president, Bill Clinton or Barack Obama?
Oh, Barack Obama.
Yeah, I agree. I you know. It's been. I was very sad to see him leave, and
I was too. I was too, and I really was. You know, I'm speechless.
Yeah. Well, we'll see. We'll see what kind of happens here. I wonder how. You know, there's no campaign trail right now, so
No. They're working on mail-in
voting. Yeah,
voting and stuff like that. There's not a lot going on. Either way, the election is going to take place.
Yeah.
Nobody can stop that.
No, I agree.
There's no amount of rhetoric. You can't stop an election.
No.
You can't say you're not going to leave when you lose because they'll take you out of there.
Well, I hope it's live on TV if it comes out.
You know, like Nancy. Let me just interject real quick. Like
Yeah.
Nancy Pelosi said, one thing she said, she heard about when Trump said he's not going to leave, and she explained it. She broke it down. She said, "Well, this is how it works." She said the CIA and the same people who protect the president. She said, as soon as you're no longer president, everything switches. It changes.
Yeah.
It changes, and they're the ones who usher you out.
Yeah.
So that's frivolous what he's talking about. So don't pay attention to the fake news.
More responsible for the Patriots' success, Tom Brady or Bill Belichick? I ask this almost every guest.
Well, I'll tell you what. I'm gonna say Belichick.
All right.
You know, only because you got to realize I like the man behind the curtains.
Yep.
You know, a lot of times somebody's got to perform, but I'll take the man behind the curtains over Tom Brady. I'll take Belichick.
All right, better decade, the 90s or 2000, and I'm saying 2000 to 2010.
Okay, that's a good question. What was it better? Well, you know what? I'll take 2010, and I say that only because I'm constantly moving forward.
Yep.
And I'm constantly evolving. You know, I used to be trapped with being in the past and thinking about some of the good old days and the times. But I said, wait a minute, you know, I have to keep evolving, and I like change, and so I like going forward. You know, I really do, because I've seen a lot in my lifetime, and I want to see what's next.
Yeah.
What's next, yeah.
And you got a son too.
Yeah.
And, you know, get to see how his life progresses and things like that. And I know you're a great father. So
thank you. I appreciate that.
I can just tell. I mean, everything I see, and you bring him to all the wrestling and everything else.
You know,
so
one thing I learned, Dan, is like, you know, our children is. This is only my philosophy. So our children is not really our children. I mean, they're a gift. So when God gives you something, you know, you do the best that you can to take care of it. And once you figure out the reason you're here, you're here so that you can protect your wife and children. Now, we're here, and there's bigger responsibilities as well, but the number one priority is protecting your family. So, I try to be a good guy.
all right, I agree with that.
Yeah.
New Hampshire or Massachusetts?
New Hampshire. Yeah, I'm
All
always
right.
in New Hampshire, always. That's easy. That was an easy question.
A lot more to our. I mean, I'm biased because I live here, but
Yeah. I'm up near Lincoln, all over.
you've been doing some hiking and stuff, huh?
I spent a lot of times. I used to travel around the world a lot, but because of my work and the volume of it, things had slowed down, and then the pandemic, everything like that. So my travel had slowed down. So what I try to do was still get things done, even if I don't leave the country or leave the state. I'll still try to be pretty much wrapped in the community, doing things, whether it's Maine, New Hampshire, Vermont, different places, New York, different places like that. I love to travel.
All right. And last one. This is always a tough one. Is we've gone. Your son's a big wrestling fan, but he's also trained to be a wrestler. But we go to a lot of shows that in the area, and there's two guys, big friends, part of the culture. Christian Casanova or Royce Bishop.
Oh man, that's unfair because those guys are together.
Yeah.
And I'm gonna be honest with you.
I'm pulling from both.
I love them both. I really do, and I want to throw one more in there. I can't leave my man, Roberto.
Triplicious,
So I can't leave. So I'm gonna go on the record, and I hope they watch this, and I hope they watch and listen to what I say. I'm not gonna separate them.
Yeah,
I'm gonna keep them together.
All right.
I could, but I would be deducting from this one and deducting from that one.
No,
and they're all great guys.
Great group.
Christian is talented.
And great to see Tasha Steele is on TV now.
Yeah. And I met her a few times and everything like that. And we're on social media, everything like that. And I like to see people grow.
Yeah.
I like to see people grow. And believe it or not, Dan, a lot of those people that you mentioned, Casanova, Bishop, and all those guys, and much, much more, was an inspiration to Gabriel and I when we got started. Because when we got started in the independent wrestling, we were actually fans. We would go to the show, and I was actually taken aback and blown away by most of the talent. So we stand on their shoulders. But it's just now we got to do the hard work.
Awesome. Well, I wish your son Gabriel Big Danger the best.
Thank you, appreciate it,
Gary. I really appreciate you coming on the show. It's been a lot of fun. We hit some serious subjects today, and I'm glad that you gave your full opinion and some good takes that not a lot of people are willing to give. So that was great.
Thank you.
But until next time, everybody, keep your heads up. We're in difficult times, but we'll see you next week, and let freedom ring.
Absolutely.